Hey, I'm Dave Koch. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to go and do a commercial edit on a apartment building lobby. Um, this is from a shoot just a little over 2 years ago. I did this for the architect and the interior designer. And at the time, we offered the actual apartment building owners um, the images if they wanted to go in on a cost share on them. They decided not to at that time. 2 days ago, they call up, hey, we changed our mind. We want those images. And that's always a good thing. So I sent them or sent them a big gallery of images, and they chose a good number of them. Some of them that were not chosen by the architect or the interior designer. So I've got a little bit of editing to do to get them what they need. And I thought that this would be a really good example of how anal retentive you get when you start editing these things. You really get into it, and the minutia of what you do is a little unnerving, and it may be way too detail oriented for some people, but for some reason I love this. This is the thing I just love the most. And the thing is, I'm not a detail person. I'm a big picture person, not a minutia person. And yet, this is one of my funnest things to do because I just sit here and it's kind of like me against the picture, and who's going to win? Well, of course, I'm going to win. So, anyway, let's take a look at this and see what we're going to do. This is going to take a while. And like I said, it's probably going to get really, really boring, but it's all important things. So, you know, if it bores you, I apologize, but I can't do the really important things first and the other things last. Everything's just going to come up. So, probably best to watch the whole thing so that you get a feel for all the different changes and things that I do. Anyway, I think we are ready to get started. And like I said, it's going to be a long one. So, buckle up. Let's get started. All right, so this is our main image. It is not perfect, but when I pick a main image, I want it to be 80% there, and I consider this 80% there. This is about where I want it. Maybe bring it a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's a good exposure right there. I am looking at the histogram, and yeah, I think that works. Just so that you know, this was ISO 64, 15 millimeter f11 and 1/4 of a second. I believe my thought process here was I wanted to get the curve of this room as it goes through. The curve right up here, I think looks really neat and was a really unusual addition to this room. Normally you'd expect that to be that what do you call it, a valence or whatever, to be flat, but it's not. So I wanted to show that, and I wanted to show the depth of this room. So it's important that we go all the way down that long hallway. And so that's why I framed this up. The camera, I believe, is let's see, yeah, Nikon Z2, Z7 II. So there you go. That's all the background. So this is going to be our main image. The first thing I see that I want to change up is this book. That's right dead center, and that is blown out. So I'm going to go to an exposure that's a little bit lighter, or I'm sorry, darker, and adjust for that. I probably added too much gold there. I think that works for just that book right there. Maybe bring it down just a little bit. We'll just cut that in. I just don't want that to be blown out like it is here. The second thing that I see that I want to change is I think I'd like these stripes of light that come shooting in. I'd like them to be a little bit more gold. I'd like a feel of sun coming in and that feeling of warmth there. So I am going to, let's see the next exposure up. Nope, that's blown out. See how we've lost definition right in there? So that's not going to be an image I want to use, at least for the highlights. So I'll take this image, I will make a virtual copy, and I am just going to add a little bit of gold to it, just like that. And that's all I think we really need to do. I don't want it to be hitting you over the head with it or anything like that. Now we'll go back to the original again, and I'm seeing a lot of blue in what should be whites in the ceilings and the walls. So I'm going to make another virtual copy of this, and I'm going to, with this one, white balance on the ceiling right there. Actually, yeah, that looks pretty good. But I can see some gold in here. I see some gold up in here. I see some gold over in here. I don't want to keep. So what I'm going to do, since that was just a gradual little shift of blue, I'm then going to use saturation and go up into where I see this yellow and pull that down to try and get as neutral as a wall as I can. I'm losing a little bit too much there. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe bring the exposure up a little bit, and let's bring the saturation down a little bit. Maybe put a little bit of that yellow back in. I don't mind a little bit of discoloration because that's natural, but I don't want it to this extent. I want it to this extent. I think that does pretty good. Let's make one more copy of it. Let's white balance for the yellow and then take out the blue and see which one looks better. So I'll white balance. Let's go right in there. All right, and then let's take out the blue. I bet you it's going to be a little bit of cyan too. You know what? I think that works a little bit better because we're not really muting the wood. And when we're cutting this all together, sometimes my lines might not be perfect. And I don't want to make the wood totally lose its color like it did in this one. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to delete this one. I don't think we're going to need that one anymore. All right, so that looks good for the walls and the ceiling. That looks good for those. Now, the last thing I need to do is to lighten up way down here because I want to see all the way down that hallway. So I'm going to make another, well, let's go to here first. I'm going to hit previous so that I can copy the white balance from everything else. Let's go up there. Now everything should line up. Because I did the copy previous, all the changes that I made to my base image were copied to this, so it should all line up and sync up well. I am going to white balance on that lamp right there. And that looks really good. This is still really dark, so I'm going to bring it up a little bit more. And I'm seeing some ghosting around the lamps. So I'm going to see if I can get that ghosting down because I don't want to see that. That might do it right there. And again, you might notice there's just some god-awful color and all that in it. It doesn't matter what any of this is. I'm only going for this. So let's see. So we've got our base image. We've got our new walls. We've got the sunlight streaking in. We've got shooting way down there, down the hall. And then we've got our book. And I think those are all the components I'm going to need to make this picture. Let me go back. I'm going to spend a little bit more time looking at this. All right, so we pick our 5 images that are going to go over there. And I just hit F10, which is my keyboard shortcut for shoot it on over to Photoshop. And here we go. They'll stack up in the reverse order. So we're starting with the shot down the hallway, and then the others will just load up on top of it. And then I'll put it in an order that makes sense for me. Typically, I will put the base image at the bottom and then just start building up each of the layers, each with what that is supposed to specifically fix. So at the top, we've got the book fix, and then I know that that's my base layer. So I'm just going to move those to the bottom because that's really easy to do. I know the book is going to be really easy, so I'll just put a black mask on that. This is going to be looking down the hallway. You know what? We're going to go ahead and pop this in right now. Take those off. We're going to do we're going to make 2 copies of that, I think. There we go. And we'll go ahead and black that one out. This one is just going to be the doorway. So we're going to cut that doorway in because that is exactly what I want. And that's far enough back. I can be a little loose on this. But it is exactly what I want. So I'm just going to go like this and cut it in. This is what I meant. It's going to be a little bit of boring stuff while I do stuff like this. And then I just hit the matte button, and there we go. That is perfect. Now, the reason I made the second copy of it is I want to take this whole window and put it in, but I don't want to do it at the same strength that the foreground was. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. Again, I'm sorry this takes so long. So this, like I said, was kind of a surprise. I didn't expect them to be coming back for the image or the images. It was a nice surprise, though. I was able to charge them full price to get um, get the images. So I charged them a pretty hefty licensing fee. And that's always a nice little Christmas present, especially if the images are all done, even if you have to go back in and re-edit things like this. All right, so delete the layer mask and put another layer mask on there. And you can see that's substantially overpowering. So we'll take this and we'll bring the opacity down to where it looks real. Let's look at it as a wide. So that's without it, that's with it. And that's at 38%. If we did it at full strength, yeah, that's way too much. It's great for that final room way down there. But we'll bring this down to where it looks, see, that's not enough. I think right there. And that makes that room pop. So that's why we made that end of the corridor its own shot. As you remember, the whole rest of this shot was just super hideously ugly. There we go. Yeah, nuclear. But I didn't care about that. I wasn't using that. I knew the part that I wanted, and we shot for that. All right, this is going to be the walls. I'm going to do this later on once I get most of the image put together. So I'll just hide that. This is going to go for the gold of the sunlight coming in. I I have an experiment I want to try. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a black mask on this, and then I'm just going to bring in roughly all these areas. And let's see, my flow's at 10. I'm going to bring it up a little higher because I want to bring all this in. And actually, that's not looking too bad itself, all by itself. I'm liking that. I may be able to just run with this. A lot more than I thought I was going to do. I'm going to go ahead and try this. This is something I've been thinking about. I haven't ever done, but I'm going to try it. And that is, I'm not even quite sure how to get, oh, here we go. Blend if gray, the current layer, underlying layer. So we're going to blend only if it's a highlight. I think that's what this is going to do. That's what my object is. I'm just to make sure, I'm going to go to dissolve to see if I can. Yeah, there we go. I'm seeing it there. All right. So there. So now it's the matte is being applied, but we're also applying a blend only if it's in the higher exposure range of the image. So there we go. I think right in there. And since we've done that, we can put a little bit, whoops, that was the wrong thing to do. I was painting on the image. I need to paint there. And then that'll bring a little bit more yellow in there in the highlights also. All right. So that looks really cool. Now let's try and fix this book area. And, we can start by just going like this around here and limiting what we're going to cut in. Oops. That way, if I am painting in a little bit too much and I go over onto the floor or anything like that, it won't take. So this should just bring in the books. And I'm going to make that even smaller. There we go. Now the books aren't burnt out. And I think I'm going to deselect and nope, that's too much. So Command Z, get that flow way lighter. And let's just go like that. There. That way it isn't too bright. Let's see if we, and I'm going to reverse. I hit X and reverse out of this. There we go. Just add a little bit more shadow in there so that it's not too bad, and darken this just a teeny bit. There we go. All right. And then let's take a look at this full size. Now let's start bringing in the decolor contaminated walls. Oh, I want to see something else. Let me turn off these layers. I'm still curious whether I'm going to leave those lights in that yellow or whether I want to mess with them. I think they look fine. All right, so let's go here, and I am going to start with the magic wand tool and just start selecting all the white areas and try and get those as clean as I can. Get as much of this as I can done with this kind of heavy-handed selection tool. Get this and that, and we want all the areas that should match. All right. It's an ugly, ugly selection, but that's just the rough. We're going to go in here and we're going to clean it all up now. So starting here, and we're going to use the polygon lasso tool. And these are nice, straight, flat lines, so we can just go all the way down to there, at least, over, and just clean this up. You can see they're a little jagged, and these do need to be cleaned up. So there, that'll fix that part. These shadows are going to be okay. We're going to blend them later. Let's see, let's fix this area. Sorry. There we go. And down to there, across and up. There we go. And this we're going to completely lose, so I don't care about that. So we're going to put that in here in this selection. This needs to be cleaned up. And that looks good. And just come back here. There we go. That area is cleaned up. This all needs to be taken out, or selected actually. So we'll just go up to there. And straight down here and over. Make that a selection. Need this area selected. Honestly, you can be just a teeny bit sloppy if you need to, but you should be able to do this just fine and get a really good clean line. Okay, so this needs to all be not selected. So we hit the option button and that will unselect this area. There we go. Good. This needs to be selected. See, this is what I mean. This is all very, very anal retentive. You have to really spend a lot of time. What mode am I in? I'm going to hit Control Z because I think I might have moved something. So Control Z. Oh, that took that out. So that's okay. At least I know I didn't do something that I didn't want to do. Okay, let's select that. Clean that up. That needs to be fixed. That is going to be edited out in a bit, probably. Same with this. All right, so those lines look pretty good. We're going to end up selecting all of this. And then we're going to unselect, which is the option key, all of this. There we go. There's a little bit there. That really wouldn't matter a whole lot, but I'm getting it since I'm here. And let's go ahead and take this all out. This needs to be selected. And this does. All of that needs to go. Shoot. I hate it when I do that. Now I have to start all over. We'll just come up right there. There we go. That's all selected. Let's clean this up a little bit. Get that line clean. All right, so that should be all of that. Let's go ahead and put this in. We want all the walls really to match. And then that's wood, so we don't need to get that. We do need to get this. That yellow there is because it's reflecting. It's not real, but then we do want to keep the brass of the lighting fixture looking like brass. And let's just put you all in the selection. Those lines look clean. That doesn't matter. That's going to be taken out. That's going to be taken out. That's all going to be taken out. I think, let's take a wide look at this shot. Okay, that should be just about everything. So now we've got our mat, and we're going to go to our very desaturated layer that we took all the yellows and the blues out of. We're going to make the matte there. And now we've got nice, clean, decontaminated walls. So it looked like that, and now it looks like that. And now I'm going to put some of that color back in, just a little bit of it, because that's what makes it look natural. Super clean, clear walls don't look good, but that does. So I think that works. So now I have an image that I can work with, I think. This has all the correct exposure and all the correct colors and everything that I want. So at this point, I'm going to combine all those layers to a single layer so I can start making changes and actually physically editing the image, removing the sensor dust. There's hair on here. You've probably seen it. We only had 2 or 3 hours to shoot. And we had a ton of things to shoot. So we were working pretty fast. So let's start looking at the image. And obviously the easiest things to fix first are the sensor dust and the hair. So let's go do those. So there's our worst sensor dust. I'm just going to, what is this bad boy called? Remove tool. Nice name. There we go. I'm just going to use that. And while I'm in here, this is going to be fine for, oh, dumb Dave. I have to combine them all down to one layer. Then I can make my changes. And while I'm here, I notice this little chip in the wood veneer. So let's fix that, just make them look good. And then let's get rid of that hair because that hair is really bothering me. And that's right up over here. And the remove tool is perfect for that. Watch this. It's just going to take that and gone. Okay, there's some splotchiness here and I don't know why. So I'm going to take this out. I don't like it. I'd like this to look all nice and smooth. I'm going to work all these out. All right, and let's clean all this stuff out. All this has to go. And then pop in here. And let's make our brush a little smaller. I like to make my brush just, or my selection, just slightly bigger than the object I'm removing. That way, I don't know if this is true or not, but in my brain, this is what I think. I think that it needs a little bit of the surrounding area so it knows what to match or what to match into. I don't like this, so I'm going to take this out. And that should, yep, that went really good. Let's see, we've got a sprinkler back there. Get that lock. Reflection, 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 all this. And I do these in parts because that was so close to the light bulb. I didn't want it to go into the light bulb and possibly mess up the shape or the fire of the light bulb. So there we go. Just take all that out. And then obviously this needs to go. Shadow doesn't though. The shadow that the light is creating of the light fixture, that stays. And this goes. I think Lightroom is really good at figuring out what it is that you're trying to get rid of. It's like, okay, what doesn't belong here? Okay, goodbye. And it takes it out. And this used to just take so darn much time. Okay, here's one of my mats that didn't quite look really good. So I'm going to go like that and just smooth it out. Now it looks good. Looking at all the other lights, they look fine. Make the brush bigger. And let's get rid of this. And I think that does it for that area. Don't like that. Don't like that. Anything that you see just a smidgen of that's cut off by something else, I always take those out and clean up the lines. Let's see, we took the top one out. Let's take the bottom one out. When I did this on the actual one, it kept the shadow and it looked so good. I hope it does. Yeah, look at that. It kept the shadow. That's beautiful. Making this smaller and getting rid of those little white things. You know, this is a place that's in use, so it's not going to be, it's going to be fairly clean, but we do have to do some cleanup here. And I want it to look good, so. Oops, I don't want that. That could mess it up. I'll hit Control Z as soon as, I'm still going to hit Control Z. There we go. This one scared me really bad, but earlier when I did it, it worked really well. So let's try. It even put the line in between the different slabs of the onyx. So let's see if it's still that smart. Yep, that works. I'm going to go ahead and finish it up with whatever tool this is, the clone tool. And I'm just going to have it go there and just continue that to the end. And there, that makes that work pretty good, I think. All right, let's take a look at a wide shot. This looks substantially better without all that stuff interfering with it. Now let's go up here. All right, back to the remove tool and remove. And I'm going to remove some of these reflections. You know, a lot of the time I just think about how I want it to look. What would be the perfect look for this place? And that's where I get my ideas from and where I go to. I just, you know, I want I want things, I want lines to be clean. I want everything to be straight. I don't want any distractions. I don't want any, pieces of dirt that stick up or cause you to look at them. I just want everything to be clean. Seams generally, like these seams in the ceiling and all, those are fine. But see how this light is just halfway sticking out? That doesn't need to be there at all. That doesn't add anything to the story, doesn't add anything to the picture. It just looks weird. Now we've got a nice straight, clean line. That's dirt. Dead bugs, maybe. Who knows? Get rid of it. There's something sticking out there. We'll get rid of that. Obviously, we're going to get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. I have not decided on that light or not yet. And we discussed that earlier. This has got to go. The dead bugs. When at all possible, try and remove things like this all in one big removal. That way, again, I think um, Photoshop is a little smarter when it realizes that it's that whole thing that you're trying to remove. So there we go. And let's see how it does. That's okay. I can live with that. And I'm not liking that shadow. I'm just going to take that out just to make it cleaner. Something there. Something there. Oh, those are the bolts that hold the lights on. That's okay. Get rid of them. Okay, here's something else I found annoying, and that's how these, some are black, some are bright. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm just going to outline all of these. And this thing just annoys the fuck out of me. It's probably a good idea, but I have not. It annoys me way more than I found it useful. Is that all of them? Yep, I think so. So let's turn that into a matte on this layer. And now let's pick our color. So go to paintbrush, go to the full layer. Let's pick that gray, and then let's paint them all. Wrong layer. Control Z. I have to go back to this layer to do the painting. Notice how that's taking all the fixture things off. We'll be fixing that. I'm going to let that have a little bit of personality like that. Did we do that one? We should have done that one. Did we do that one? Yeah, we did do that one. And I'm going to fix it so that this one is added. That's so black. I don't like that. So I go back to the matte, and now I'm going to paint white there so that the matte will show through. And there, the gray I put down earlier is now showing. So that's good. But let's go back to the layer, back to the paintbrush, and paint more gray in there. And there we go. All right. So like I said, see how it makes the nuts and things on the fixture disappear, because essentially I'm painting. So just change it from normal layer to luminosity. Nope, that looks ugly. Color. Saturation, hue, lighten. There we go. That works. Now let's take a look at the white. Oh, I'm sorry. I did want to remove this. I saw that earlier. Get rid of that. I have some, oh, have to be on the master layer. There we go. And maybe I have to deselect. There we go. You know what? I'll figure this Lightroom Photoshop thing out someday. And there we go. That looks a lot cleaner. Oh, we need to clean up down here. I didn't see that or didn't remember that. So let's go in here and back to the remove tool. See, again, I just, things that you see half of like that, I don't like generally. I mean, there are times that I let them stay, but for the most part, there's no reason for that to be there. We'll clean all this up. That's a speaker. That's a just get all this stuff. There, see this light? Don't like that. Don't like that. Don't like this. Whatever this is gone. This goes away too. And then some of these are reflections and some of these are the actual lights. So let's take the reflections out. And then, gee, what do you think I'm going to do there? Yep, that's going away. So was this. Maybe just that too. Let's just keep that screen. That's too bright. I don't know what that is, but that's going away. Oh, it's the reflection of this camera or whatever. And that is going away. I like her in there. I don't like her drinking her little whatever, kombucha or whatever. Let's get rid of that. But she's okay hiding in there. She's not that big a deal. This might be a little too blue. I might be fixing that in a bit. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. That is a vase. We're going to get rid of that. All those little hot spots of light we have to get rid of. Okay, I think we're to one of the most anal retentive points of this whole tutorial. You guys are going to hate this. I'm going to just say skip ahead 5 minutes unless you really enjoy the punishment. But I'm going to clean up the floor now. There are some tracks on the floor, I know from doing this earlier, that have to be taken care of. This obviously has to go. I'm going to clean this up. So yeah, I'm just going to, go through this and let's see, why don't I just talk about my feeling about distractions and why I remove things like that. I think we all know Tony Colangelo. If you don't, you need to look him up. He's a really good guy. I have learned so much from Tony. Tony is truly one of the greats, and he is also a really good friend, which makes it even nicer. But I've taken a few of Tony's composition classes, and Tony, he does like to pick on me, and I don't blame him. I'm easy to pick on, and I don't mind him doing that because I always learn something when he does. Um, but this all goes back to something that I picked up from Tony in one of his composition classes, and that is that your brain does not like to think. It likes to understand the message with as little thought process as possible. And this was what he said was the reason that the rule of thirds worked so well. And that was because your brain expects to be able to interpret an image by looking in certain specific areas, basically the rule of thirds, and be able to see the most important things in that image by going there. And if you can give the brain what it wants by feeding the rule of thirds and making images easy to understand, the brain is going to not have to work as hard and thus like the image. And I'm just going to have to trust that Tony knows what he's talking about because I can think of no other really good reason why rule of thirds would work. But this I've kind of expanded on, and that's why I like to remove distractions because I want the meaning and what my image is about to be extremely clear. And if you're looking at all these other things in the image like fire extinguishers and you know um, speakers in the ceiling and water extinguisher things and all that, your brain is having to interpret too much. Why not give it something that it can look at and enjoy and just say, you know what, that's just really pretty. I don't think Rembrandt or Van Gogh had to deal with fire extinguishers either, but they also didn't put a lot of the minutia of daily life in their paintings other than the stuff they wanted you to see. A still life, you don't see power sockets in the background and things like that. You see the fruit or the fish in the bowl or the whatever, and that's what it's about. And that's what we're doing here. We're having to take real life and edit it down. This is in effect what we're doing is we're editing this down to be the important things that we want to see. And um, the more you can make it easy for a person viewing your image to just, I hate to sound like the Borg, but assimilate the picture easily and quickly, the 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 more they are likely to like your image, the easier it is to like your image. I'm taking out all these spots because I just don't like them. And I'm about to do something that, you guys are going to hate probably, but I think it needs to be done. It's in this part of the shot. You can see it. It's not this though. It's these tracks. Those have to go. If you aren't seeing things like that, um, when you're viewing your images, you need to zoom in like I've done here and start really looking at the images, in detail. What does this add to the image? Nothing. All right, we're going to start taking these tracks out because I don't think they belong there. I think it looks a lot better without them. And it's, a lot of extra work. One of the things I think you need to either recall or remember is when we're doing, there's a reason why we charge 10 times the amount for a commercial shoot than we do for a real estate shoot. And that is because we do things like this and because we see things like this. And, I don't think this client would send this back and go, oh, you missed a spot on the cement floor, or there's wheel tracks there, or whatever. But I do think that overall they wouldn't be happy with the final image if it wasn't cleaned up and looked perfect. And so that's why we spend an hour on the concrete like this and removing all these things. Another thing to keep in mind is very few, if any, people know what the place actually looks like. So if I'm removing the fire extinguisher, squirt nozzle, sprinkler system, nobody's going to know. And if you're rebuilding a wall or what's behind a piece of glass or something like that, that's not part of the immediate subject of an image, nobody's going to know. You can rebuild things and people are not going to notice. Okay, I think we're to a point where I'm ready to show you the full image again. And look at that. Tell me that's not clean. See how few distractions there are now? See how much nicer that all looks? I think that looks really good. But are we done yet? No, we're not. Still, believe it or not, a lot more to do here. And part of that is color correction. And let's just go ahead and start with the floor again. Let's pick out the floor, and we can be a little sloppy here. But I see a lot of yellows and blues in that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to select all that. Also, I don't want it to be quite as bright as it is. So I'm going to go to the top of my stack of layers, and I'm going to pick a hue saturation. And now this is only affecting the cement. Let's bring the exposure down a little bit. Not a whole lot, but there. Let's take the saturation down a little bit. Again, not all the way, but just some of the way. Another thing that bothers me is this. I find this a little bit too yellow. So I'm going to make another selection here. And I think I'm also, screwed up there. So I'm going to hit Control Z, which should bring back my selection. And then let's just go a little bit up into the ceiling there. And then we're going to make another hue saturation layer. And we're going to go into this, and we're just going to pick the yellows and bring the yellow saturation down a little bit to there. I think that looks pretty good. This, I think, would be a lot of fun to select this. I don't mind that yellow coming in from the top. There's a light there, and that justifies that. But the blue, cyan, green down here does bother me. And so I'm going to cut out that wall. And take the blue out. All right, so another hue saturation layer. And I think I can just, all I've selected is the wall. So I think I can just take the saturation down. And let's take that, make it a little darker like that. I think that really makes that wall pop. And let's select this area. And I love really dark, rich blacks. And I don't like that blue on the front of this. So I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to make another layer of it. And there, that should do it. Another hue saturation layer, or actually, yeah, let's do a hue has blah, 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 blah. So again, saturation comes down, and I'm going to do another layer with curves because I love curves. And then I'm going to remove that layer mask, and then I'm going to hold the option button and selecting that same area. This is something I love doing. You grab this hand and you come here, and there we go. Look at that. Look at that. How, yeah, I think that looks really good. All right, let's look over the rest of the image. This, not quite sure. I mean, I know what it is and all. I'm not quite sure I like it. So I'm going to use the remove tool and just fill it in, just so it isn't something that grabs the eye. Again, no one knows. That's something you can do easily and nobody will complain. Now I'm looking for splotches. I see a splotch there. I see a splotch there. See a splotch there. Just unevenness in the color. And see right in here. So you can use the remove tool to kind of even out your wall colors like that. Did we decide this was too blue? I think we did, didn't we? All right, so let's go up to the top of our layers. And how are we going to fix that? Let's look at all our filters. Here's one probably a whole lot of people don't use. That's the photo filter. And this is what we want, the warming filter, an 85. If you were a film photographer, you knew an 80 and an 85. And we're going to use an 85. And we're going to bring up the density. And I'm just looking to here. I think we need a little more than that. All right. And then let's make the filter black. So we hit Command I. And there, it's back to what it was. Let's back out a little bit. And now we'll just use a white brush on the mat to slowly bring in the color that we want and take that blue out. There we go. So we don't want to take the blue out of the carpet or anything, but we want to take the blue out of that part of the image. And there we go. That's a good adjustment. I'm looking up here and I'm seeing that doesn't look so good. I'm going to use the clone tool. And actually, let's go from here and just clone into there. I'm on the wrong layer, that's why. Me bad. Go there. And there we go. Come down a little bit. And that should take care of that. All right. So I think we've cleaned this up a whole lot. I have decided on this light. I don't like it. So we will get rid of that. It's kind of all out there by itself. And there's also another metal bracket that holds a light, this one here. I'm going to lose that for the same reason. It just is a little annoying. right. Now we're going to do our little Tony Colangelo fit. Oh, wait, look at that right there. What is that? Let's get rid of that. I would do half and then the other half like that. That way it won't take out the chair. And while we're here, since I see it, let's take the tag off. I don't like tags. And anytime I see a scratch in the color like that, I try and take that out. Let's see. Yep. Now that I know that those are there, I'm going to start looking for those. Oh, I see something I'm going to lose, and that's this. All right, I think there's a spot there I'll get rid of. Okay, so again, this is not perfect. This is a little blue there. You know, I left a lot of color and color contamination in this on purpose because I think a real place has that in it. But I've toned it down a lot from where it was. If you want, let's do this. Let's take the original shot, put it up on top. So that's where we started, and that's where we ended up. I think it's a big improvement. A lot of the things are very subtle, and they're, things that you only notice when you agonize over these things for, 2 hours on a screen. But I think make a big difference. I think, this is a very cluttered, kind of busy shot. There's a lot going on in it. And while this is still fairly busy, it's about the space now. It's not about all the things in the roof and all that. And your focus is more on the room now. So your eye can go through this. And I really like that it's bookended by these two just beautifully colorful, rainbow colored paintings. This one on the left, that small one, that I keep thinking Romero Brito when I see that one. It's not, but it's at least his color palette. And crazy me, I see Mickey Mouse in it, and I guess that's part of the reason I'm thinking Romero Brito. You know what I think I might do too is come up here. There's this blue spot right here. I don't know what that is, but I think I'm just going to wipe it out. This is another one of those examples of nobody knows what's there. So whatever this turns into, as long as it's not blue, I can let that go and nobody's going to know the difference. But now your eye isn't going to go up there either. All right. Well, there you go. What do you think of that? Did I spend way too much time? Not enough time? Did I miss some things? I probably did. I mean, everybody's got their own little peculiarities and whatever that they look at in something like this and that they focus on. Picadillos, I guess. I have corrected the things that bother me. Oh, I know. This will be fun. I did do this on the final one too. So I'm going to add another layer, a blank layer. And then I'm going to come in here. See, I didn't like that these lights were all lit and this one wasn't. So I'm going to cut this out. And I'm going to show you how to light a light that's not lit. First thing you have to do is make a mat completely around the whole thing. Or make a selection and then make the mat. So we've got the blank layer. Let's put the mat on it. Now go to one that is actually lit so that we'll be copying the real colors and select select one of the dimmer yellows, and then come back in here and just start there like that. And now go to one of the brighter ones and bring your paintbrush down and then select a brighter color. Make your brush even smaller. And what you want to get is you want to get a couple of different colors here. And then let's make this, I think if we do color, there we go. Maybe not color that. No, saturation is not it. Hue, nope. Yeah, that will work. And then this is something that I did and I really liked. I cut this middle part out of this one. Control C, and then I Control V, and then it's in transform mode. So I just make it a little smaller. And move it just a little to the right. There. And then take the transparency down or the opacity down. Wrong layer. You get this many layers and sometimes it gets a little crazy. So let's try that. There we go. So I think that let's move it a little. There we go. There we go. That looks pretty real. Control T, and then let's just shrink it a little this way. There we go. All right, so there we go. I think I already invited you, but feel free. Take me to task for what I did wrong, what you would do different, what you think I did poorly, what I did well, what you would do differently, what you would add, what you would subtract, whatever you want. Go ahead and have at it. But this is how I would approach this edit, and this is pretty much exactly how I did do it. Let me see. I'm going to go over here. Do you want to see what I actually did give them for this? I'll pull it in. This was my actual final edit. There, that's my final edit. That was what I turned in. Turned in like it's school or something. And that's the edit that I just did. Both, I think, work really well. Oh, I could have sworn I sent them the lit version of this. I did like that. Oh, well. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this. I hope you liked what I did. And if not, like I said, let me know. Let me know what you do different. Let me know what I should have done that I didn't do. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and may your next shoot be your best shoot.